So the time's come. You've had your leopard gecko or crested gecko for a little bit, and now, you feel ready. You're ready for the next big thing. You want a little bit more of a challenge and something that has a little more maintenance to it than just the beginner reptiles. But now you're wondering, what is the next step? What are the next set of reptiles that make the intermediate pet? Well, today I'm going to show you guys 3 amazing pets that, if you don't mind a little bit more of a challenge and a little more upkeep, will make an amazing addition to your collection. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the best 3 intermediate reptiles. The first pet we are going to be talking about is, of course, the jungle carpet python. And I mean, when it comes to beauty, personally, I don't think there are very many that can compete with the jungle carpet. I mean, these things are absolutely gorgeous. That highlighter yellow compared to the jet black on this pattern is just out of this world. Now, some people think, as far as why I place the jungle carpet in a intermediate position versus such as a beginner really has nothing to do with the care. I mean, as far as care goes with jungle carpet pythons, it is pretty similar to ball pythons. It's not too difficult. I actually believe them to be a little more hardy than ball pythons, just because of the fact that they will rarely refuse a meal. I mean, these things are pretty much garbage disposals as far as meals goes. These are a very hardy snake, and unless you're really doing something with your husbandry and you have no idea what you're doing, they're pretty rewarding when it comes to, or forgiving when it comes to mistakes. Why I place the jungle carpet as an intermediate species instead of a beginner is everything to do with, well, the attitude. Now, you guys know me, I hate placing animals as, with behavioral problems like they, like all tokays are evil, and the same stereotype goes with carpet pythons. Everyone says carpet pythons are nothing but nasty, they're mean, and they never calm down, and that's not true. It's just a different perspective when you think about it. Now, of course, if you're going to compare a carpet python with a ball python as far as handleability goes, you're gonna have problems. Ball pythons do absolutely nothing. They just sit there the whole time, where these guys are up and around and moving and just a little more energetic, I guess the word would be. But the real thing about jungle carpet pythons, and really the one thing that I truly love about them, is the fact that they seem to be more of an aware species of snake versus the other species that I work with. This guy knows exactly where I am. He is watching me and he is ready to go. He's trying to figure me out. What's going on? What's this guy going to do? And although, yes, it does make it a little bit more harder to get out of get him out of or get her out of her enclosure. This is a girl, it's not a boy. It does make it a little more difficult getting her out of the enclosure than, say, if I was just moving a ball python. She's, like I said, a little more aware, and she is very on point. She's ready to strike because she sees me as a threat right now. And usually with species like these, the jungle carpet, they are a little bit more eccentric and a little bit more defensive as babies. This usually calms down at around 1.5 to 2 years of age. Some don't, some do it quicker. It's all dependent on the personal species that you're keeping. And, it's all, relatively to the personal snake, not the species itself. Whoa. But personally, that's what I love about the jungle. They're exciting, this thing almost tried to take a bite out of me. This is fun, this is way better than just a ball python just sitting there. Now, I don't want to give these guys a bad rap by any means. I think this species is amazing, and she has come a long way from when I first got her. It just takes a little bit more of it's a different handling technique, This isn't a snake that you're just going to go right in the enclosure and pick it out. You're going to have to work a little bit to gain her trust. And, if you do everything right, the snake will never bite you. I have owned this snake for just about a year now, a little less. I think we're coming up on 8 months now, and this snake has never actually bit me. Striked plenty of times, I will give that, but has never actually landed a bite on me because, one, I'm reading the animal's body language, and I know this snake, and I know that, this is a little bit more of a defensive animal, so I need to take the proper precautions. So with that long tangent out of the way, I think those are the reasons why I believe the carpet python to be a little bit more of an intermediate. I think you should have some snake experience so you know a little bit more about the psychology and body language of snakes before you try to wrestle the carpet python. But even with that, I think they just make amazing pets. I am so excited in the future that I'll be doing nothing but expanding on this species. We'll be getting a male here pretty soon, and as far as I love the different morphs, the zebras, granites, albinos, things like that, there will be a lot more carpet pythons coming to this channel in the future. But I think that's enough talk about the carpet python. Let's move on to number 2 out of 3, and of course that's going to be the new addition that quite a lot of people have gained some interest in. Of course, next on that list is going to be the Chinese water dragon. Now, yes, the Chinese water dragon is an absolute beauty. I mean, this long tail, these luscious emerald greens with the stripes, and of course the little jowls in the chin going as an array of different colors. The Chinese water dragon is quite a beauty, but this guy does come with some difficulties that I'll dive into a little bit now. When we're diving into the Chinese water dragon care, it can become a little more difficult than your basic reptile. These guys require large enclosures. Currently mine's in a 3 foot by 3 foot by 5 foot, and that is only going to increase later on. These guys also, by their name, Chinese water dragon, require a large water basin. Right now, again, I'm using a large tub, but I plan to get a one of those little goldfish ponds in the future, just because I think that he needs as much water as he possibly can, and it also helps with the humidity. Not only that, water dragons are also arboreal, so not only will you need a large water area, you're going to need plenty of climbing branches to handle a 3 to 3.5 foot lizard. These guys can go anywhere branches from outside, or buying them from your local pet store. It can get pretty costly. So just with the cost of a large custom enclosure, because you're not going to find an aquarium with that. By the way, I don't recommend putting a Chinese water dragon in an aquarium due to they are high prone to glass surfing, which usually leaves big bumps and bruises, or sometimes missing mouth around their mouth and jaw. They call it mouth surfing, or sometimes they'll bash against the glass. Luckily, my guy looks very good as far as that goes, but I put him straight into a grow tent so he would not need to deal with any glass. But yes, large custom-made enclosure is not cheap. Large water areas, not cheap. All the branches and the lights you're going to need, not cheap. This is not a cheap animal to get, especially when the animal itself is only going to cost around $30 to $70. The next thing we'll talk about is, of course, the handleability. Now, don't let this guy fool you, although he's being a little rowdy. I can no longer hold him like that. My arm is so tired. These guys are not as handleable as your average, leopard gecko or bearded dragon. They kind of know what they want and they go for it. They are going to run to whatever they want and nothing's going to stop them no matter how many times you pick them up off that spot. Now, to be honest, I just happened to get the luck of the draw and got an extremely handleable Chinese water dragon as an adult. I'm pretty amazed considering the last pair of Chinese water dragons I had were just not tame whatsoever, constantly running around huffing, just fleeing at the first chance they got. They did not want any handling, so that just makes the experience with this guy all so much better. But to wrap it up, if you want an iguana but you don't want to care for a 6 foot lizard, this is a pretty good alternative. You get a 3.5, this is a pretty large lizard that's still a little bit more friendlier, a little more flighty than, say, the iguana, but still just an amazing pet that does take a little bit more care, a little bit more of a larger space. Then I think the Chinese water dragon would be a great addition for you. But okay, we talked about the jungle carpet, the Chinese water dragon. Now we just have one more animal to go through, and this animal's care difficulties aren't exactly an issue. They're a pretty handleable species, but what makes them, I think, on the top of the intermediate list is, of course, the size. Ugh. And of course, the last snake on our list today is going to be Viv, the Red Tail Boa. Now, when we talk about size, as far as snakes go, she is the biggest snake that I am allowed. She's curling up in my pocket. She is, oh boy, she is a handful is what she is. Where are you going, sweetie? Now, Viv is the largest snake that I am allowed to have here in Maine, and large is a pretty good number. As far as when you're first starting out in the reptile hobby, red tail boas can be pretty large. Viv goes, just look at this snake. Let's take a look at her fully out. Oh, my hat's going. What are you doing? Oh, boy. Oh, well, there goes my hat. Viv is a very large snake. Now, I can't even get her to full in frame, but we're talking about 6.5, 7 feet, maybe a little bigger than 7 feet. This is a very large animal. And comparatively speaking, I know there are retics and berms. Don't go people be like, oh, 8 feet's nothing, Dakota. When we're starting out in the hobby and you don't really know what you're doing as far as snake handling goes, a red tail boa that's 8 feet, she is just curling all over the place. A red tail boa that's 8 feet can be a little bit much to handle, especially for a first-time keeper. I mean, just look at me. I've been doing this for years now, and she's given me a run for my money. I'm trying to unhook her. She just hooks on every little thing and just explore. This is a very... Oh, she's going in between the grates. Hang on, guys. I decided we cannot casually sit for this because she is just creating too much of a ruckus. Now, although Viv doesn't have a nasty attitude, I mean, just look, I can just... Oh my gosh, stop wrapping around me. Although she doesn't have a nasty attitude, I mean, you can just play with her face. She's not gonna try to bite like, say, the jungle carpet, and the care is not too difficult, just a little more humidity and just anything like a radiant heat panel or some heat tape set at the correct temperature will do it. These guys are just pretty big, and, you know, as far as handling goes, this is not your ball python, as you can see. Red tail boas get pretty big in size. I mean, just look at this gal. She is weighing in at pretty heavy. I mean, almost my shoulder's getting a little bit sore, but of course, I'm a little out of shape. Oh man, we are gonna wrap this up soon because I just heard gurgling, which means giant snake shit. So, Bred Tail Boa is giant in size. I'm gonna put her up. I don't wanna get pooped on by a big snake. Man. Lost a hat, lost a plug, a tunnel. It's Red Tail Boas, people. Okay, where were we? Yes, Red Tail Boas. Okay, as you guys could see in that little handling, sorry I had to put her up early. I am not getting pooped on. Have you seen 7-foot Red Tail Boa shits? They are giant. I mean, we're talking like they're big. They're big poops. But I think it's the size that makes the Red Tail Boa more of an intermediate species. This isn't an animal that is relatively difficult to care for. The care is pretty simple, but they do require a large enclosure. Right now, Viv is sitting in a 6-foot by 30-inch by 18-inch AP cage, and that's not her permanent enclosure. She is going to be needing upgrading to an 8, even a 10-foot long enclosure, depending on, you know, how big she gets. Now, if it was a boy, that enclosure would actually be perfect for her. I mean, she would probably be maxing out around that size, but female red tail boas can get into the, you know, 8 to 10 to sometimes even the 12. It's not unheard of. Now, personally, I keep Viv on a leaner diet. I'm not power feeding her. I don't want this giant ginormous snake. Look how cool my big snake is. No, I want a healthy snake that I feed a proper diet. So Viv probably won't get into that 11, 12 foot. I'm guessing she's gonna max out around 8 or 9. But yes, if you've had your ball python for a little bit and you're ready for something a little more exciting than just the rock that sits there all day, I definitely recommend a red tail boa as that next step pet because it is just an experience of its own. Not only are they a pretty large snake as far as snakes go, but they are so exploratory and just kind of want to go everywhere and zoom around. This is not an inactive snake or a lazy snake. This snake is active and it is on the move. Alright guys, we talked about the jungle carpet python, we talked about the Chinese water dragon, and we got to talk a little bit about the red tail boa. Now, let me know in the comment section, what was your favorite out of this best 3? That jungle carpet, the Chinese water dragon, or the red tail? Other than that, guys, if you do want to see that next tier, you know, the best 3 advanced reptiles, the likes thing's gonna get a little more higher, you know. I think we broke 30 likes in like a day maybe, so we're gonna up at 15, so 45 likes on this video and I'll make the best 3 advanced reptiles. And as you guys know, I got some pretty cool stuff here and there's some pretty cool things I can make out of that video. Other than that, if you guys want to see some more of my animals or my breeding products, you can follow me on Facebook or Instagram at DBCB Exotics. And other than that, thank you guys for watching and I hope you have a great day.